Good afternoon. Thought I'd do a quick update on the Fallen Eagles 2, the scenario 4, which is the main battle scenario. I've got through 3 turns, so it's just about to enter the 2 PM turn. It's been quite an interesting first couple of turns actually, because the first 2 turns were spectacularly short. If you play the system, you'll recall that after each formation activates, you do an end of turn die roll, and if you exceed typically a 9 or a 10, then the marker flips over, and if it happens for a second time, then the game ends, and it can be quite a premature ending. You're allowed to do a strategic movement with formations that haven't done 2 activations yet, but it's fairly restrictive. You can't begin an activation of that formation if it's within 4 hexes, and you can't enter within 4 hexes. So it's of some use, but it doesn't compensate for a short turn. Now, I think the French are on a pretty tight schedule here. They've got to make something happen before the Prussians start arriving, and one of the interesting little games that you play is you select cards at the start of the game. There's about, I think, 12 of them, and you alternate with the French having first dibs, and they pick the barrage card to try and go for the Grand Battery, and having two shortened first 2 turns, and also the first turn is actually mud, which also further restricts movement. I think it's -1 movement point or something. They weren't really able to get their Grand Battery in position. I don't think it was an optimal deployment, but chose to use it on the 1 PM turn with limited success. And of course this card is now available to be picked up by the allied player, who can do similar to the French. You can activate 4 formations, and all the artillery in those formations can fire. And now for the allies, that's probably 8 pieces of artillery. For the French, it could be a lot more than that. So tough decision whether the allies are ever going to use this to fire back at the French, because then of course it goes back into the French locker to be reused. So there's a bit of to and fro in there. The other interesting card is the lack of ammo card, I think, which is useful in trying to take some of the chateaus in the game. If it's surrounded after the 4 PM turn, you can force their surrender. So that's another card which the French player would like to have, but of course if he goes for the barrage, any wily allied player will probably pinch the low ammo card to keep it out of the French hands, which is what happened. So we've had a couple of turns where not much happened. The 1 PM turn, all the French formations activated twice, bar some of the cavalry corps. Slightly annoying. I think Kellerman couldn't get into position, which he was hoping to. Could have even got off a few salvos with his horse artillery, but failed to do so. But I'm enjoying it. I'll show you the map and give you a quick summary. I'll try and keep the camera. I noticed my last one, the camera was a bit wobbly. I'll try and keep it a bit steadier this time. I think there are fewer what-ifs with this one. If you compare this to the Ligny one, or certainly the combined Ligny-Quatre Bras, there's lots of variable reinforcements which you can pay for, and that will give you, I guess, a lot more replay. There are some varying cards in this as well which you can use, which can spice things up a little bit. But I think it's still a classic engagement, and it's one that's nice to see. It's presenting quite a good storyboard at the moment, and I'm definitely enjoying it. So let's have a look at the map. Start on the French left. So This is Rye's second corps who moved up. He moved up this road, pressuring the Allied right flank. But they haven't had all their own way. The Allies deployed, some of their divisions deployed quite an effective gun line along here, and they've actually dispatched some of the French troops. Some of the Allies have also decided to flee, and this is after the route moves have been done on the 1 PM turn. So this is Kellerman, who is trying to get up to these slopes here to try and set up some batteries on this hex to bombard across the valley, and probably could have sent the cuirassiers around. I think their orders are to go up here somewhere, but that wasn't to be. The turn ended a little bit too short for them. With a change from the historical story, Mouton's 6th Corps have been putting a bit of pressure on Hougoumont. They tried an assault, but the Guards managed to dispatch one of the 2 attacking hexes with an effective salvo, which meant that the odds weren't quite what was needed. And I think we had an exchange of morale checks, and both teams passed. So there's a few losses in this hex, and maybe they'll get to try again. Next turn, Milhaud's moved up into the middle, deploying his batteries, and this is the ground battery. It's a combination of Delon's 1st Corps and the artillery from the Guard Corps that have been shelling this line here. Some troops have routed back. There's another couple of stacks here which have been rallied by Wellington, who's positioned in quite a good central position just here. But Ponchet was one of the routed ones. He's reformed, and he's now trying to fill in back towards Papelotte. So the problem will be, say, starting next turn, on a 2 PM turn, I think the Black Star, I think this road here is where the Prussians come on. I will double check that. Maybe that's just their source of supply, but it's in this area. So by 4 o'clock they're going to be really pressing the French. Now, what have the French got to try and hold them off? Well, not a lot really. I think historically the Young Guard, there's about 4 counters of Young Guard here. There's some of the Guard heavy cavalry, and there's a few elements of Delon's corps here, which are all light cavalry. And if we go around to the side, you'll see it from the Allied perspective. So that's the 2nd Dutch Belgian. So Uxbridge's cavalry corps, the line's holding fairly well. I mean, I think now that this artillery here may start to pound the centre. This is a reasonable defensive position in a sunken road, and the distance is, you know, if you're 3 or more away, you get a +1, and so, you know, just the sheer weight of shot is going to start to tell, I think, in the centre at some point. And the Brunswick Corps still in reserve, of course not with the Duke of Brunswick. I think he was killed at Quatre Bras. So that's Alferman, not a great commander, but he's in charge of that lot. And a combination of the 4th, 2nd divisions and the 3rd Dutch Belgians, which is facing Rye's 2nd Corps. If these guys can get rallied, which they probably can do, because Ney has moved into support, you can try and rally 4 stacks. He failed to do anything in the rallying front last time, so he'll attempt again to try and rally some of those troops. So there we go, and this is what's coming on. So this is the Prussian 4th Corps, which comes on at 2 PM. There's a lot of stuff there. Not the best quality, but as they say, quantity has got a quality all of its own. That'll take some stopping. Having done the steamroller scenario 3 as well, I'm aware that just what these Prussians can do as they start to drive down into the French right along this axis. So we'll see what happens next.